When my son Marcus stood up in the middle of the dinner I had cooked with my own hands, he didn't lower his voice or soften his tone. He shouted across the table, "Either you give your room to my wife, or you pack your bags." He said it loud enough for everyone to hear, as if he were giving instructions to a stranger, as if my own room, my space, was something he could simply reassign. Chantel, his wife, sat beside him with that small, confident smile she wore whenever she knew the outcome was already in her favor. My sister-in-law Thea looked away, uneasy. My granddaughter Naomi lowered her head. Not one person spoke up for me. And I, Celeste Steen Vance, 69 years old, widowed, and a mother who had given decades of her life to her family, sat silently as something inside me shifted. It wasn't sorrow. It wasn't anger. It was clarity. For the first time in years, I saw the situation exactly as it was. My son was treating me like an inconvenience in my own home. I didn't cry. I didn't argue. Instead, I placed my silverware down gently, took a steady breath, and said in a calm voice even I didn't expect, "All right, Marcus, I'll pack my bags." The room froze. Marcus stared at me, confused. He had expected tears, maybe outrage, but certainly not calm acceptance. Chantel let out an awkward laugh. Thea cleared her throat. Naomi's eyes widened. But I was already standing, folding my napkin, and walking to my room with my spine straight and my steps steady. That night, while they lingered downstairs pretending nothing unusual had happened, I sat on my bed with my phone in my hand, not upset, not lost. I was looking at houses for sale on the coast. Weeks earlier, my best friend Doreen had sent me a listing of a small seaside home with a sunny deck and a beautiful view of the waves. She had joked, "One day, you and I will own a place like this and watch the sunset together." I had laughed it off then. But now, with forced laughter drifting up from the dining room, something about that house felt different possible. The listing showed a 2-bedroom home, 2 hours from the city, with a large kitchen and a price that fit neatly inside the savings I had accumulated through years of long hours and careful budgeting. Savings I had always used for Marcus, his schooling, his car, his wedding, even rent when he and Chantel were short. I looked at my bank balance, and for the first time in decades, a powerful thought washed over me. This money is mine. The next morning at 7, I called the real estate agent. A young woman answered, and when I said I wanted to visit the house today, she paused, then agreed. At 9:00, Marcus came downstairs. "Is breakfast ready?" "No," I said without looking at him. "I'm going out." "Where?" "It's early." "I have an appointment." He shrugged and went to the fridge. "Well, don't take too long. Chantel wants you to drive her later." "I won't be available," I replied, standing before he could say anything else. I climbed the stairs to the room that, according to last night's announcement, now belonged to Chantel. I picked out clean clothes, dressed, looked at myself in the mirror, and saw a woman who still had determination in her expression. At 10:30, I walked out. No one asked where I was going. No one stopped me. I drove for 2 hours with the windows down and music from my youth filling the car. I hadn't gone on a drive alone in years, maybe decades, and it felt light, free. I arrived right on time. The agent, Mr. Peterson, greeted me warmly. The house was even more beautiful than the photos, bright, cozy, and filled with the sound of the ocean. "What do you think?" he asked. "I think it's perfect," I said. "Would you like a few days to consider?" "No," I interrupted gently. "I want to buy it, today." He blinked, clearly surprised, but began preparing the documents. The price was $280,000. The home was ready, with no delays or complications. As he spoke, I listened, but in my mind I was already making a new calculation, a new future, a future finally chosen for me. I had $310,000 saved. I decided to keep $30,000 aside for whatever life might bring next. Then, sitting at the empty kitchen table of the house that already felt like it belonged to me, I signed the initial documents. The agent handed me his card, explained the next steps, and said, "You can move in within 72 hours if you'd like." "Perfect," I replied. I want to move in exactly then. I walked out onto the deck with the temporary keys still warm in my hand. The ocean stretched out before me, steady, calm, and utterly indifferent to anyone's demands. The waves didn't ask for anything. They simply were. I lifted my phone, snapped a photo of the horizon, and sent it to Doreen. I did it. She replied within seconds. Did what? I bought the beach house. There was a long pause, and then her messages came one after another. You're joking, right? Celeste Steen, answer me. You really bought it? When? How? Does Marcus know? I smiled to myself on that empty deck. Marcus knows nothing, and I won't tell him until I'm already living here. Doreen called immediately. Before I could say a word, she burst into excited shouting, Celestine Vance, you did what? I am so proud of you. Tell me everything. What did Marcus say when you told him? I haven't told him at all, I said calmly. Last night at dinner, he announced I should give my room to Chantel or pack my bags. So I've decided to do exactly that. I'm packing my bags, and I'm leaving. Doreen went silent for a few seconds, and then sighed. That boy truly has no idea who he's dealing with, does he? No, I replied, my eyes on the sea. He has no idea. I drove back to the city that same afternoon, unhurried, enjoying every mile. When I pulled into the driveway, it was nearly 6 p.m. Marcus was on the couch watching a series. Chantel was in the kitchen using my pans and my stove as if she already owned them. Where were you? Marcus asked, not even glancing away from the screen. Taking care of things, I said, and headed upstairs. I stood in the middle of the room, my room, and looked around. Framed photos of Marcus as a child, the watch my husband had given me, the quilt from my trip to the Bahamas, piles of books on my nightstand, all pieces of my life. And yet none of them made me feel at home. I pulled out 2 large suitcases and began packing. Clothes, shoes, important papers, jewelry, and only the photos that were meaningful, no more keeping things just because I felt obligated. Hours passed. No one came upstairs, no knocks, no questions. At 10 o'clock, Marcus shouted, Mom, are you making dinner or not? No, I called back. Order something. Silence. Then Light murmuring downstairs likely complaints, but no one came up to confront me. They were accustomed to me always stepping in, always fixing things. But that part of my life was over. Early the next morning, I called Doreen. I need a huge favor. Anything, she said. I need you to come with me to the lawyer's office. I'm listing this house for sale. She didn't hesitate. I'll be there in 30 minutes. I ate breakfast alone in the kitchen. Marcus and Chantel were still asleep in my room. I washed my mug, dried it, placed it back in the cupboard, and found the contact for Brenda Wells, a lawyer from my walking group. I texted her, Brenda, I need urgent help with property and estate matters. Do you have time this week? She replied quickly. I can see you today at 4. Perfect. Doreen arrived at 9 sharp. I slipped out before Marcus came downstairs. We hugged, and she studied my face with that mix of concern and admiration only a lifelong friend can have. Are you sure? She asked. More certain than I've ever been, I said. We went to the lawyer's office. The meeting was faster than I expected. I listed the house for $580,000, a fair price. Brenda said it would likely sell within a month. Perfect, I said. Afterward, Doreen and I sat in a cafe, sipping lattes by the window. So what now? She asked. Now I wait, I said, for the sale of this house and the final papers on the beach house, and once it's all done, I'll leave. No dramatic scenes, no speeches. I'll simply go. And Marcus? Marcus will finally learn to manage his life without leaning on his mother as a built-in solution. Doreen smiled, raised her cup, and we toasted to that moment. That afternoon, I met with Brenda in her office, small, tidy, lined with books and neatly labeled folders. She listened carefully as I explained everything: the dinner, Marcus's outburst, the new house, the sale of the old one. When I finished, she asked, Does Marcus know any of this? No, I said, and I don't want him to know until it's done. Understood, she replied. Legally, he doesn't need to know anything. The property is yours, the funds are yours. You have no obligation to inform him. Good, I said. But, she continued, you need to consider something. What if he reacts poorly? What if he tries to claim something? Let him try, I said without hesitation. I owe him nothing. I've given him 42 years of support. That is enough. Brenda nodded. Then we'll make everything airtight. I'll prepare documents confirming your assets stay under your control, and we'll update your will as well. My will? I asked. Yes, Brenda replied. If anything ever happens to you, I want you to be the one deciding who receives what. Is there anyone besides Marcus you want to include? My granddaughter Naomi, I said immediately. She's always been different. She treats me with genuine warmth, not out of duty. Perfect. We'll include her, Brenda said. I left her office feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Control. Control over my choices. Control over my future. Control over my life. The days that followed felt surreal. I was still in that house cooking, cleaning, carrying out my routine, but inside everything had shifted. Every chore felt temporary. Every sunrise felt like a countdown. Every hour that passed was 1 hour closer to leaving. Marcus and Chantel had fully settled into my room as if it had always been theirs. Chantel rearranged the closet, moved the furniture, hung her clothes where mine used to be. Marcus didn't ask how I felt sleeping in the guest room. He didn't ask if I was okay. He simply assumed that I had accepted my place. One afternoon, while I was preparing dinner, Chantel came downstairs holding a handwritten list. Celestine, she said. No greeting, no warmth. I need you to go to the store and pick up these things. Marcus and I are having friends over on Saturday. She handed me the list. I scanned the items. Expensive wines, imported cheeses, premium meats, desserts from a specialty bakery. The total easily surpassed $250. And who exactly is paying for all of this? I asked. Chantel looked at me as if the question itself was ridiculous. Well, you, obviously. It's your house. Is it? I asked quietly, folding the list. I thought it belonged to you now. She frowned. Don't start with theatrics, Celeste Stein. You know what I mean. Yes, I said. I know precisely what you mean. I handed the list back. If you want to host something, you pay for it. Her mouth fell open. What is wrong with you? Why are you acting like this? I'm not acting, I said calmly. I'm simply telling you that if you want to organize something, you use your own money. She scoffed and stormed upstairs. Marcus, your mother is being impossible. Marcus came down the stairs looking irritated. What's going on? She refuses to pay for the food for Saturday, Chantel snapped. Marcus turned to me annoyed, speaking as if I were a child misbehaving. Mom, don't be difficult. It's just one meal. Exactly, I replied. One meal that you both can cover. Marcus raised his voice. And what is going on with you lately? You've been off since last week. You talk back. You don't help. It feels like you're annoyed we're here. I'm not annoyed that you're here, I said, looking straight at him. I'm annoyed that you treat me like I'm here to serve you. No one is treating you like that, Chantel said quickly. Oh? I asked. Then what do you call what happened at dinner last week, when Marcus shouted that I should give up my room or pack my bags? Silence. Marcus looked away. Chantel pressed her lips together. You're exaggerating, Marcus finally said. I didn't shout. I just asked you to be reasonable. You asked me to be reasonable, I repeated slowly, by raising your voice at me, in front of everyone? It was a misunderstanding, Chantel said softly, using that tone people use when they want to seem calm and diplomatic. We were all stressed. Marcus didn't mean it that way. But he said it that way, I replied, and you're still sleeping in my room, so I guess the misunderstanding worked out quite well for you. Marcus sighed. You know what? I'm not arguing about this. If you don't want to help with the food, don't help. We'll figure it out ourselves. Perfect, I said, returning to my cooking. They walked upstairs, whispering. I heard pieces. She's unbearable. I don't know what's wrong with her. She wasn't like this before. They were right. I hadn't been like this before. Before I said yes to everything, before I apologized for things that weren't my fault, before I shaped myself to keep everyone comfortable, but not anymore. That night, after they were all asleep, I sat alone in the living room with my phone. I wrote to Doreen. Every day I stay here, I realize how much time I spent being the version of me they wanted. Her reply came instantly despite the late hour. But you're not losing time anymore, you're taking it back. I smiled in the dark. The next morning, my phone rang. It was the real estate agent. Ms. Vance, good news. 3 people are interested in viewing your house. Can we schedule showings this week? Yes, I said, but only between 10 and 2. Those hours are when my son isn't here. Understood, he said. I'll confirm everything. It was real now. The process had begun. On Wednesday, the first couple arrived. Young, newly married, full of excitement. Marcus and Chantel were out running errands. I showed the couple every room. The bright kitchen, the cozy living area, the small but well-kept yard. They asked questions, took photos, measured corners. At the door they said, "It's lovely, ma'am. We'll think about it." 2 more visits followed that week, all while Marcus was gone. All with the same line, "We'll think about it." On Friday, Brenda called me. "Celeste Steen, the documents are ready. Can you come sign them?" "I'll come tomorrow," I said. Saturday morning, while Marcus and Chantel slept in comfortably in my room, I drove to Brenda's office. She welcomed me with fresh coffee and a thick folder. "This is your updated will," she said, pointing to the first document. "Naomi receives 60% of your assets. Marcus receives 40. And here," she tapped a paragraph, "is a clause stating that if anyone contests the will, they automatically lose their share." I signed each page slowly, feeling 2 emotions intertwine. Relief, because I was finally protecting what belonged to me. Sadness, because I needed protection from my own son. "How do you feel?" Brenda asked gently. "Like I'm finally waking up," I replied. When I returned home that afternoon, Marcus and Chantel were whispering sharply in the living room. They froze when I walked in. "Where were you?" Marcus asked. "Out," I said. "Out where?" Chantel pushed. "Resolving things." Marcus narrowed his eyes but didn't insist. Chantel, however, wore that expression she got when she was plotting something. "Celestine," she said in her sweetest voice, "we need to talk about something important." I sat in the armchair across from them. "What is it?" "We were evicted from our apartment," Chantel said bluntly. "The owner wants to sell. We have 2 weeks to leave." "I'm sorry to hear that," I said. "Have you started looking for a new place?" "Well," Marcus began, "we thought we could stay here for a while, just until we find something." "Yes," Chantel added, "it wouldn't be forever. Maybe a few months." I looked at both of them. Their eyes had that familiar mix of expectation and entitlement. "No," I said simply. "What?" Marcus blinked. "What do you mean, no? Of course we can stay here." "No," I repeated calmly. "You cannot stay here." "Mom," Marcus said, raising his voice, "we're your family. You're really going to leave us out on the street?" "I'm not leaving you on the street," I said. "I'm letting you handle your own problems like adults." Marcus shot to his feet. "I can't believe what I'm hearing. What is wrong with you? Since when are you so selfish?" "Selfish," I repeated slowly. "Interesting word choice." "And what else should I call it?" he demanded. "You live in this big house all alone, and you won't help your own son." "This house isn't big, Marcus. It has 3 bedrooms. 1 is mine, which you currently occupy. 1 is the guest room where I sleep now, and the 3rd is my office where I work." "Then turn the office into a bedroom," Chantel said. "It's not that hard." I stared at her. "My office is where I earn the money that pays for this house. Where exactly do you think I should work?" "In the kitchen," Marcus muttered. "Don't be dramatic. You exaggerate everything." I took a steady breath. "I'm not arguing this. The answer is no." Marcus switched to his softer, manipulative tone. "Mom, I know you've been stressed. And maybe I said things I shouldn't have at dinner, but we're family. Families help each other. Families respect each other, I said, and neither of you has respected me for a long time. That's not true, he said quickly. Oh? I asked. What do you call shouting at me to pack my bags if I didn't give you my room? Respect? I already apologized, he lied. He had never apologized, not once. No, Marcus, you didn't. You didn't even acknowledge what happened. Chantel jumped in with her familiar helpless tone. Celeste Stein, we really have nowhere to go. Are you truly turning your back on us? You're adults with jobs, I replied. You can rent a place, take a loan, or do what millions of other adults do. But you're his mother, she insisted. Mothers are supposed to help. And I did, I said, standing up. For 42 years. I looked straight at Marcus. I paid your tuition. I bought your first car. I helped with your wedding. I paid your rent countless times. I paused. I have helped enough. Marcus's voice trembled with practiced emotion. My own mother is denying me a roof over my head. I'm not denying you a roof, I said, walking toward the stairs. I'm denying you my roof. There's a difference. I went upstairs, into the guest room, and locked the door. Downstairs, their voices rose accusations, name-calling, frustration. I caught pieces. Ungrateful. Selfish. Cruel old woman. I sat on the bed and texted Doreen. It happened. They asked to move in. I told them no. She sent an audio message immediately. Her voice was full of pride. Celeste Stein Vance, you're my hero. How did they take it? As expected, I wrote. Yelling, drama, threats. Are you okay? She asked. I'm perfect, I replied, and realized it was true. That night, Marcus and Chantel went out without saying a word. They returned past midnight, slamming the bedroom door. Sunday morning I got up early as always. I made coffee just for myself. No breakfast for everyone. No table set for 3. Just me, my mug, my toast, and my fruit. Marcus came downstairs around 11, looking exhausted. He poured himself coffee, leaned on the counter, and stared at me. What? I asked, not looking up from my tablet. Nothing, he said. I just wonder, what happened to you? What happened to me? I repeated. Yes, you were different before you actually cared about your family. I set my tablet on the table and looked straight at him. Before, I cared so much about my family that I forgot about myself. That's the difference. Marcus scoffed. That sounds like something from a cheap self-help book. It sounds like something I should have understood 30 years ago, I replied. He slammed his mug on the counter. You know what, Mom? Do whatever you want. After all, you've always done what you wanted. I couldn't help the laugh that escaped me, short and bitter. Marcus, if I had ever done what I wanted, I would have traveled after your father passed. I would have gotten the master's degree I dreamed of. I would have lived quietly on my own. But instead, I stayed here. I took care of you. I supported you. I waited for you to appreciate me, even a little. I do appreciate you, he said, though the lack of conviction in his voice told the truth. No, Marcus, you don't appreciate me. You use me. There's a very big difference. He said nothing. There was nothing he could say. He knew I was right. A few minutes later, Chantel came down the stairs, perfect makeup, perfect hair, and that familiar air of superiority. Good morning, she said without looking at me. Good morning, I replied. She poured herself coffee and sat beside Marcus. They whispered to each other as if I didn't exist. Then, suddenly, Celestine, she said, we need to use your car today. Ours is having issues. No, I said. She blinked. What do you mean, no? You're not going to lend us your car? And how exactly are we supposed to get around? Marcus asked. Taxi. Rideshare. Walking, I said. Like everyone else. Chantel let out a dry, mocking laugh. Unbelievable. First you refused to let us stay here and now you won't lend us your car. What's next? Charging us for breathing the air in your house. If you'd like, I said calmly, you can breathe the air somewhere else. Marcus slammed his hand on the table. Stop it. Just stop it, Mom. I don't know what's going on with you, but this is too much." "What's going on?" I said steadily, "is that I'm tired. Tired of feeling invisible, tired of being treated like a maid, tired of you assuming everything I have belongs to you." "No one assumes that," Chantel lied. "Oh?" I asked. "Then explain this. Why are you sleeping in my room? Why do you treat my kitchen as if it's yours? Why do you expect me to pay for your gatherings and lend you whatever you want?" She opened her mouth, but no words came out. I stood up, washed my mug, and walked upstairs. I locked the door behind me and took a few slow breaths. Just then, my phone buzzed. "Ms. Vance, the young couple from Wednesday wants to make an offer, $565,000. Are you interested?" I answered immediately. "Yes, I accept." The agent replied, "Great. I'll prepare the paperwork. We can close in 1 week. 1 week. In 1 week, this house, my house, would no longer belong to me, and Marcus had no idea. That afternoon, while they were upstairs, I quietly began packing. Photos that mattered, books I loved, important documents. I placed everything into boxes and hid them in the guest room closet. Marcus and Chantel didn't notice, they were too busy with their own lives. Monday morning, while they were sleeping, I left the house with 3 boxes in my trunk. I drove to a storage unit I had rented earlier. It was small, but enough for the things that mattered. The employee handed me the keys. "Moving a lot?" she asked kindly. "Just the important things," I said. I returned before noon. Marcus was on the sofa with his laptop. He saw me, but said nothing. That afternoon, I received a message from Brenda. "Celestine, the buyer wants to expedite the closing. We can finalize everything Thursday. Does that work?" I stared at the screen. Thursday. 3 days. In 3 days, this house would legally no longer be mine. Perfect. Thursday works. I immediately called Doreen. "I need you with me on Thursday for the signing." "I'll be there," she said without hesitation. "When will you move to the beach?" "Friday," I replied. "I'll sign on Thursday and leave on Friday, and Marcus will find out Thursday night when there's nothing he can do." Doreen was quiet for a moment. "Are you absolutely sure?" "Completely," I said. "If I tell him early, he'll manipulate, guilt-trip, or pressure me. I won't give him the chance." "You're stronger than you think, Celeste Stein," she said. "I'm learning," I replied. The next few days were a blur. I moved through the house, cooked meals, walked the same halls, but mentally, I wasn't there anymore. I was already at the coast, in my new home, my new life. Marcus and Chantel noticed my silence, but they misinterpreted it. They thought it was temporary anger, that soon I'd return to being the woman who said yes to everything. On Tuesday, Chantel tried a new tactic. She entered the kitchen with an overly bright smile. "Celestine," she said sweetly, "I know things have been tense, and I want you to know I'm really sorry." I looked at her without responding. "Marcus and I have been stressed about the apartment," she continued, "and maybe we haven't treated you fairly, so I want to make it up to you." "Make it up to me?" I asked. "Yes," she said eagerly, pulling out her phone. "Look, I found this spa that offers a full-day package, massages, a facial, everything." "I thought we could go together this weekend," Chantel said, forcing a smile. "Just you and me, like friends." I looked her directly in the eyes. "And who's going to pay for that spa, Chantel?" She blinked, uncomfortable. "Well, I thought maybe you could treat me, as a gesture." I cut her off. "I'm not taking you to any spa." Her smile dropped instantly. "It was just an idea," she snapped. "You don't have to be rude." "I'm not being rude," I said calmly. "I'm being honest. I'm not spending my money so you can pretend to appreciate me." She opened her mouth, offended. "I don't pretend anything." "Yes, you do, Chantel, and we both know it." She stormed out of the kitchen, muttering something under her breath. I didn't bother to ask what. Wednesday night. Marcus tried his own approach. Around 10 p.m., he knocked on my door. "Mom, can I come in?" "Come in." He sat on the edge of the bed while I folded clothes and placed the last items into my suitcase. "Mom," he began, sounding worn out, I don't want us to keep fighting. We're not fighting, Marcus, I said, still folding. I'm simply no longer allowing you to treat me poorly. I never meant to disrespect you. But you did, I replied, finally turning to face him. You did when you yelled at me at dinner. You did when you took my room without asking how I felt. You did every time you assumed I would fix your problems. He rubbed his face with both hands. I don't know what else you want me to do. I already told you I'm sorry. No, Marcus, you told me you're sorry that I'm upset. That's not the same thing. He went silent. You know what your problem is? I continued. You think that saying I'm sorry magically resets everything, but it doesn't. You can't disrespect someone and expect them to forget it. I never intended to make you feel bad, he said, and for the first time he sounded sincere. But you did, I said gently, and intentions don't undo the damage. He nodded slowly. So, what can I do to fix things? Nothing, Marcus, it's too late to fix it. He stared at me, confused. What does that mean? It means I've already made decisions about my life. And I'm not changing them. What decisions? You'll find out soon enough, I said, returning to my packing. He waited, hoping I'd explain. I didn't. Eventually, he left the room, closing the door quietly behind him. Thursday, the day everything changed. I barely slept. In the morning, I chose my clothes carefully: black pants, a white blouse, pearl earrings. I wanted to feel composed, confident. I left a simple note on the table. Out, handling some matters. Back this afternoon. Doreen picked me up at 9 a.m. She looked at me seriously before starting the engine. Ready? More than ready. We drove to the attorney's office. The buyers, a young couple, were already there. We sat around the table as the attorney read through pages of documents in that slow, formal tone all lawyers seem to have. The price? $565,000. Closing? Today. Move-out deadline? Sunday. Any questions? He asked. None. I signed each document, page after page, signature after signature, my name, marking the end of an era. When it was done, the attorney handed me a check. $565,000. Freedom, in paper form. Doreen squeezed my hand. Outside, she hugged me tightly. You did it. Yes, I whispered, tears rising. Not from sadness, but pure relief. Lunch? She asked. Yes, I want to celebrate. We went to our favorite little restaurant by the park. White wine, pasta, a toast to new beginnings. When will you tell him? Doreen asked. Tonight. Want me to come with you? No, I have to do this myself. The announcement. I returned home around 5 p.m. Marcus's car was already there. I took a deep breath before opening the door. They were in the living room watching TV. They looked up when I walked in. Where were you? Marcus asked. Handling my matters, I said, setting my bag down. What matters? Chantel asked sharply. Mine. I went upstairs, sat on the bed, and gathered myself. At 7 p.m., I called them into the living room. They sat on the sofa. I sat in the armchair. I took a breath. A long, steady breath. And then I said it. I sold the house. Silence. Total, stunned silence. Marcus stared at me like he hadn't heard correctly. What did you say? He finally managed. I said I sold the house. I signed the papers this morning. The new owners take possession on Sunday. Marcus shot to his feet. What? You can't do that? I already did, I said calmly. This is my home, he shouted. I grew up here. You can't sell it without telling me. This house is in my name, Marcus. I don't need your permission. Chantel stood up too. And where are we supposed to live? That, I said, is your problem, not mine. Our what? Marcus said, stunned. Mom, you just made us homeless. You became homeless a week ago, I replied, when I told you that you can't stay here. You just didn't believe me, I said calmly. This cannot be happening, Chantel paced back and forth. This has to be a joke. It's not a joke, I replied. You have until Sunday to collect your things. No, Marcus shouted. I won't accept this. I'm talking to a lawyer. I'm contesting the sale. You can try, I said, unfazed, but the house was in my name. No debt, no mortgage, and the sale is completely legal. I already spoke with my attorney. Your attorney? Marcus snapped. Since when do you have an attorney? Since I finally decided to protect what belongs to me. Chantel pointed a finger at me. You are selfish, a selfish, heartless old woman. I looked at her without blinking. Tell me, Chantel, am I selfish because I sold my own house, or am I selfish because I stopped letting you use me? We are not using you, Marcus shouted. We're your family. And I am your mother, I said, steady and clear, not your solution to every crisis. Marcus ran his hands through his hair, panicked. Mom, please, there has to be a way to fix this. Cancel the sale? Just tell them you changed your mind. I'm not canceling anything, but we have nowhere to go. Then start looking, I said, standing up. You have 3 days. Marcus blocked my path. I'm not letting you do this. Move, Marcus, I said, my voice low but firm. Not until you explain what's wrong with you. Who are you? Because this woman is not my mother. You're right, I answered. This isn't the mother you knew. The mother you knew got tired of being invisible. This mother finally decided to live for herself. I gently pushed him aside and went upstairs. Chantel's voice rose behind me. This isn't over. We'll take you to court. Go ahead, I called back. Talk to every lawyer you want. I locked my door, sat on the bed, and waited for my heartbeat to settle. I had done it. I had told them everything. And the sky hadn't fallen. My phone vibrated. It was Doreen. Did you tell them? Yes. How did they react? How we expected, yelling, threats, drama. Are you okay? I'm perfect. Shockingly, I was. I barely slept. All night I heard them arguing, voices rising, voices falling. At one point, Chantel cried. Later, Marcus called someone, probably a lawyer, but the answer was the same. The sale was legal. Friday morning. When I went downstairs early, Marcus was already sitting at the table with a mug of untouched coffee. Dark circles, messy hair, exhausted. Mom, he said quietly, we need to talk. We talked yesterday, I replied, pouring my coffee. No, I mean really talk. Without yelling, please. I sat across from him. Talk. He stared into his cup. I know I was wrong, he said. I know I said terrible things. I know I treated you badly. Yes, I said simply. You did. And I'm sorry, he added. I looked into his eyes. Yes, there was emotion, but it wasn't guilt. It was fear. Marcus, I said softly, the problem isn't just what happened at dinner. That was simply the last straw. This has been years of you treating me as if my purpose is to solve your problems. It's not like that, he whispered, though even he didn't seem to believe it. Yes, it is, I said gently but firmly. When was the last time you asked how I was? When was the last time you visited simply because you wanted to see me, not because you needed money, help, or something fixed? Silence. Exactly. You don't remember because it never happened. I'll change, he said quickly. I'll be a better son, I promise. I don't need you to be a better son, I replied. It's too late for that. I need to finally live my own life without feeling like I owe someone something every moment. He swallowed hard. What am I supposed to do then? What all adults do, I said. Figure it out. Just then, Chantel came downstairs. She, too, had dark circles. She poured herself coffee without saying a word. The house was heavy with silence. All Friday, they stayed in their room calling landlords, searching listings, trying to gather the pieces of their situation. I continued packing at my own pace. Every item I boxed carried me closer to freedom. That afternoon, my phone rang. Unknown number. Miss Vance? Said a young woman's voice. Yes, this is she. It's me, Naomi, Grandma. My granddaughter. The one person who had shown me genuine affection without expecting anything in return. Hello, sweetheart, I said, my voice softening. Grandma, Dad called me. He said you sold the house. Is it true? Yes, Naomi, it's true. There was a pause. Then, "Good." I blinked. "Good?" I repeated. "Yes. Good. I heard everything Dad said to you at dinner. I was embarrassed. I was angry. I didn't know how to defend you then. But what you did is right. Grandma, you deserve respect. And if Dad won't give it to you, you deserve to walk away." My throat tightened. "Thank you, my love." "Where are you going?" she asked. "I bought a house on the coast," I told Naomi. "Small, peaceful, with a view of the ocean." "That sounds beautiful," she said softly. "It is." "Can I visit you?" she asked, almost shy. "Whenever you want, Naomi. You will always be welcome." After we hung up, I sat by the window for a long moment. Her support felt like a warm blanket after days of cold silence. At least someone in this family understood. Saturday. The sky was gray when I woke up. I continued packing 4 suitcases, 6 boxes. Doreen was coming later to help me move everything to the storage unit. When I went downstairs, I found Chantel at the kitchen table with her laptop. Her eyes were red. She had clearly cried. "Good morning," I said evenly. She didn't respond, not even a glance. I poured myself coffee and leaned against the counter. The silence sat heavy between us. "We found an apartment," Chantel finally said, staring at her screen. "It's small, old, and in an awful area, but it's all we can afford." I said nothing. "It's $1,800 a month," she continued, "more than double what we paid, and they want 3 months up front. That's $400 we don't have." She kept talking, as if waiting for me to jump in, as if this was a negotiation. "We're going to have to borrow money," she said at last. "Probably from my sister. She'll never let us forget it." I watched her calmly. "You're still waiting for me to offer to pay for it, aren't you?" "You're his mother," Chantel snapped. "I thought you would at least care." "I do care about Marcus," I said. "What I don't care about is being his permanent solution to problems he creates." "We didn't create this," she raised her voice. "You created this. You left us homeless." "You had a home," I said quietly. "An apartment you rented. You lost it. That is not my responsibility." "We could have stayed here," she insisted. "No, you couldn't," I replied. "This is my house, and I chose to sell it." "You're cruel," Chantel whispered, trembling. "I thought you were a good person, but you're cruel." I met her gaze without flinching. "Do you know what cruelty is, Chantel? Cruelty is yelling at someone to pack their bags in their own home. Cruelty is taking someone's room without asking. Cruelty is assuming someone exists only to serve you." "I never did that," she argued. "Yes, you did," I said. "From the day you joined this family, you treated me like an employee, not a mother-in-law." She slammed her laptop shut. "I'm not arguing anymore. Fine, you win. You've humiliated us. You made it clear you don't want us here." "This isn't about wanting you here or not," I said calmly. "It's about not sacrificing my peace for your comfort anymore." She grabbed her laptop and left the kitchen without another word. Moving the boxes. Doreen arrived at 10 a.m. in her SUV. Together, we began carrying boxes downstairs. Marcus stumbled out of his room when he heard the noise. "What are you doing?" he demanded. "Taking my things to storage," I said. "No need to wait until tomorrow." He stood there on the stairs, watching. He didn't offer to help. He just stared, confused, wounded, maybe both. 3 trips later, as Doreen closed the SUV tailgate, she said, "Tomorrow's the big day." "Tomorrow I leave," I replied. "How do you feel?" "Light," I said honestly, as if I'd finally set down a weight I'd been dragging for decades. When we returned around noon, I saw Marcus and Chantel packing 2 boxes, piles of clothes, scattered belongings. The house looked like a life being taken apart. I went upstairs, packed the last few papers, photos, letters. Everything fit into one small box. It was surprising how little I truly needed. That evening, I made dinner only for myself. Simple pasta. Marcus and Chantel ordered takeout and stayed in their room. We didn't see each other at all. Saturday night. Around 9 p.m., someone knocked. It was Marcus. "Can I come in?" "Go ahead." He stepped inside and stayed near the door, uneasy. "You're leaving tomorrow," he said quietly. "Yes." "Do you know where you're going?" "To the coast." "You bought another house?" "Yes." He was silent for several seconds. "How long have you been planning this?" "Since the night of the dinner," I answered. "Since you yelled at me." Marcus looked down. "I didn't think you'd go this far." "Neither did I admitted. "But once I made the decision, I knew it was right. Is there anything I can say to make you change your mind?" "No, Marcus. Not anymore." He swallowed. "Are you going to be okay? Alone? In a new place? Away from everything?" "I'm going to be better than ever," I said with certainty. "And us?" he asked. "What are we supposed to do?" "You're going to learn to be okay without me," I said gently. He ran a hand over his face. He stood there so long I thought he'd left, but he stayed, leaning against the wall, holding himself up. "I'm sorry I failed you," he finally whispered. Truly whispered. I looked at him, and for the first time in years, I saw real vulnerability, a fragile truth beneath all the noise. "I'm sorry for many things too, Marcus," I said softly. "I'm sorry I didn't set boundaries sooner. I'm sorry I let you treat me this way for so long," I continued softly. "I'm sorry I confused love with sacrifice." He looked up sharply. "You don't love me anymore." "I do love you," I said. "You're my son, and I will always love you. But I'm no longer going to let that love destroy me." Marcus nodded, eyes shining. "I don't know if I can ever forgive you for this." His words hurt, but not like before. Not like a knife, not like guilt twisting in my chest. Just a dull ache, the kind that comes with accepting a difficult truth. "That's okay, Marcus," I said. "I don't need your forgiveness. I need my peace." He left the room, closing the door gently. That night I slept deeply for the first time in weeks. No fear, no second-guessing, no lying awake wondering if I was doing the right thing. I knew I was. Sunday, the move. The sun rose bright and warm. I woke at 6, showered, dressed in comfortable travel clothes, and brought down my last 2 suitcases to the door. Marcus and Chantel were still asleep. At 7 a.m. sharp, Doreen arrived. We loaded everything into her SUV. Before leaving, I walked through the house one last time. The living room where Marcus took his first steps, the kitchen where I'd made more meals than I could count, the yard where my husband used to sit with his Sunday paper. Every corner held memories, but none of them made me want to stay. I went upstairs to what used to be my room. Chantel had replaced the curtains, moved the furniture, hung new pictures. There was nothing of mine left. Perfect, I thought. When I came downstairs, Marcus was in the living room in his pajamas, looking exhausted. "You're leaving now?" he asked. "Yes." "Can I have your new address?" "I'll give it to Naomi," I said. "If she chooses to share it with you, that's her decision." His jaw tightened. "So that's how it's going to be?" "That's how it will be," I said, "until you can show me you can respect my boundaries." He didn't answer. I walked to the door. Before stepping outside, I turned back. "Take care, Marcus." "You too, Mom," he said, voice breaking. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. I didn't look back, just exhaled, long and free. Doreen smiled from the driver's seat. "Ready for your new life?" "More than ready." The coast. We drove 2 hours to the ocean, laughing, listening to music, making plans for the new house. Doreen was staying with me for the weekend to help me settle in. We arrived at 10 a.m. The sun lit the water like silver. Waves rolled in gently, calm and steady. Doreen turned off the engine. "It's yours," she said. "It's mine," I whispered, and the words felt unreal. We went inside. The house smelled fresh, like a clean slate. Natural light danced across clean walls and empty rooms. We unpacked clothes, arranged the furniture I bought earlier, hung photos. By late afternoon, it already felt like home. We opened a bottle of white wine and sat on the deck watching the sunset. The sky glowed with oranges and soft pinks. "To you," Doreen said, raising her glass. "To the bravest woman I know." We clinked glasses. After a while, I asked quietly, "Do you think Marcus is okay?" "He'll figure it out," Doreen replied. "But that's not your responsibility, Celestine." "I know," I said. "He's still my son." "And you," she added, "are still a person who deserves a life without guilt." She was right. I knew she was right. But being a mother doesn't just switch off. First night in my new home. After Doreen went to bed, I sat alone on the deck beneath the stars. I took a photo of the moonlit sea and sent it to Naomi. I made it home. She replied immediately with a heart emoji. "I'm so happy, Grandma. I'll visit you soon." I smiled, really smiled. Then another message came from an unfamiliar number, but the area code was recognizable. "Marcus, Mom. Chantel and I got the apartment. We're moving in tomorrow. Just wanted you to know." I didn't reply. Not out of cruelty, but because there was nothing left to say. Another message followed. "I know you're upset and I understand. I hope we can talk someday." I put my phone away and watched the ocean again. Days of peace. The following days were filled with a calm I hadn't felt in years. I woke to the sound of waves. I had breakfast on the deck, walked along the water, read, cooked for myself. No shouting, no guilt, no constant demands. Doreen stayed a few extra days. We walked along the boardwalk, tried local cafes, explored small markets. It felt like a permanent vacation. The call. On Wednesday, while we were having coffee overlooking the ocean, my phone rang. It was Thea, my sister-in-law. "Celestine," she said as soon as I answered, "I need to talk to you." "Hello, Thea. What's going on?" Marcus told me everything, the house, the move, all of it. I braced myself for criticism. "And I want you to know," she said, pausing, "that I'm on your side." I was silent, surprised. "What Marcus did to you at that dinner was awful," Thea continued. "I was there. I heard every word, and I was ashamed I didn't speak up. But I was in shock. I couldn't believe my nephew talked to his mother like that." "Thank you for telling me," I said, feeling an unexpected wave of relief. "You did the right thing by leaving," she said firmly. "You did the right thing by selling the house. Sometimes family hurts you more than strangers, and you don't have to stay just because you're related." We talked for almost an hour. She told me she had confronted Marcus, told him exactly what she thought of his behavior. At first he was defensive, but eventually he admitted he had been wrong. "He's scared," Thea said, "scared of losing you. But he still doesn't understand that he caused this himself." "Maybe someday he'll understand," I said calmly. "Or maybe he won't. But it's no longer my responsibility." When I hung up, Doreen looked at me. "Who was that?" "Thea," I said. "She called to tell me I did the right thing." Doreen smiled. "The world is finally aligning for you, Celeste Stein." An unexpected message. That afternoon, while we walked along the beach, my phone buzzed. It was a long message from Chantel. She wrote that she never expected things to get this far, that she grew up with a difficult mother, and maybe that's why she didn't realize when she crossed boundaries, that she regretted making me feel invisible in my own home. She didn't apologize directly, but she came close. "I don't know if you and Marcus can fix things," she wrote, "but I understand why you left." I read the message 3 times and showed it to Doreen. "Are you going to reply?" she asked. "Not yet," I said. "I need time to process." "You have all the time in the world," Doreen replied. Naomi's video call. On Friday, Naomi called me on video. Her face appeared with a huge smile. "Grandma, you look amazing. You look happy." "I feel happy," I said. I turned the camera to the ocean. She squealed with excitement. "Wow, it's beautiful. I'm so proud of you." "Thank you, sweetheart. How are you?" "I'm good," she said. "I helped Dad move yesterday. The apartment is small but clean. They're going to be okay. I'm glad, I said sincerely. Dad keeps asking about you, Naomi said softly. He doesn't know if he should call or give you space. Tell him he can call me when he's ready for a real conversation, I said. No yelling, no guilt, no manipulation, just honesty. I'll tell him, she said. We spent the rest of the call talking about her life, her classes, her new therapist. She told me I need to set boundaries, Naomi said proudly. Just like you did. You respected yourself, Grandma, and I'm learning to do the same. My heart swelled. Saturday. A new beginning. Doreen had to go back to the city that afternoon. We hugged for a long time at the door. Are you going to be okay alone? She asked. I'm going to be perfect, I said. Call me any time. I know. I watched her car disappear down the road, then walked back into my home. Those words still amazed me. That night, with a glass of wine on the deck, my phone rang. It was Marcus. I hesitated. Then I answered. Hello, Marcus. Hi, Mom. His voice was tired. Can I talk to you? Go ahead. There was a long pause. Then he drew in a shaky breath. I've been thinking a lot this week about what happened, what I said, how I treated you. I'm listening, I said, giving him no easy exit. You were right, he finally said, about everything. I treated you like you were there to fix my life. I raised my voice when I should have respected you. I took your room like I had a right to it. And I never, ever asked how you were or what you needed. I didn't say anything. Silence can be powerful. I know saying sorry won't erase it, he continued, voice shaking. I know I hurt you in ways that take time to heal, but I want you to know I'm sorry. I'm really, honestly sorry, his voice cracked. Thank you for saying that, I replied calmly. I needed to hear it. Do you think you can ever forgive me? I don't know, Marcus, I said honestly. Maybe someday? Maybe not. He breathed out slowly. But what I do know, I continued, is that I'm not living the way I used to. I'm not going back to being the mother who says yes to everything. I'm not sacrificing my peace for your comfort. I won't ask you to, he said. I just want a relationship with you. A real one. Not one where I only call you when I need something. I would like that too, I said. But it will take time, and it will require real change. Not promises, actions. I'll do it, he said quickly. I'll show you. We hung up shortly after that. No dramatic promises, no instant healing. Just a small step, the kind that might one day grow into something healthier. I stayed on the deck late into the night, listening to the waves and feeling the cool, salty breeze. For the first time in decades, I wasn't thinking about what someone else needed from me. I was simply there, with myself. A new routine. The following weeks settled into a rhythm that felt like freedom. I woke early every morning and walked along the beach before tourists arrived. The fresh air cleared my mind in ways I hadn't felt in years. I met other women who walked the same path every morning. Widows, divorcees, retirees, all of us looking for the same things. Peace, connection, a life of our own. We formed an informal group, meeting at 7 a.m., walking for an hour, then having breakfast at cafes along the boardwalk. One of them, Cecilia Caldero, 65, a retired teacher, became one of my closest friends. It's funny, she told me one morning as we sipped coffee. We spend our whole lives caring for everyone else, and the second we start caring for ourselves, they call us selfish. Exactly, I replied, as if having a life of our own is some kind of crime. From then on, Cecilia included me in everything. Card games on Tuesdays, yoga on Thursdays, dinner gatherings on Saturdays. For the first time in years, I had a social life that wasn't built around anyone else's needs. Friends who called to spend time with me, not to take something from me. Plans I made because I wanted to make them. Naomi's visit. 1 month after moving, Naomi arrived for the weekend with a small backpack and a glowing smile. "Grandma," She hugged me so tightly I could barely breathe. This is incredible. I showed her every room. She took pictures of everything, the deck, the ocean view, the kitchen, and posted a photo captioned, "Visiting the bravest woman I know." That night, we cooked together and ate on the deck, watching the sun sink into the sea. She told me about school, friends, a boy she liked. It felt nothing like the dinners at my old house. No pressure, no tension, no unspoken frustration. Just two women who genuinely cared for one another. "How's your dad?" I asked eventually. She sighed. "He's different, quieter, thinking more. I think he's actually processing everything." "And Chantel?" "Also different. Less—" She searched for the word. "Less demanding. Like she finally realized something." "I'm glad," I said, and meant it. "Dad wants to visit you," Naomi added. "He's just afraid you'll say no." "I won't say no," I replied, "but I'm not ready yet." "I understand, and he will too." Saturday, we explored the town, the market, the bakery, the scenic overlook. "I could live here," she said, admiring the ocean. "It's peaceful, beautiful." "Whenever you want," I told her. "You'll always have a room here." She left Sunday afternoon after a long, emotional hug. "Take care of yourself, Grandma, and don't ever let anyone make you feel bad for choosing you." "Never again," I promised. 2 months later, 2 months after moving, I received a package from Marcus. Inside was a framed photograph, him at 5 years old, sitting on my shoulders, both of us laughing in a sunlit park. A picture I had forgotten existed. And there was a letter. "Mom, I found this photo while unpacking. It reminded me of who you always were to me. My refuge, my support, my everything. And it made me realize when I stopped treating you that way. I don't know when I started seeing you as a resource instead of a person, but I know now that it was wrong. I'm going to therapy. My therapist is helping me see patterns I repeated without meaning to, taking without giving, expecting without thanking, assuming instead of asking. I'm not writing to ask you to come back or forgive everything at once. I just want you to know that I'm working on becoming better, for myself, for Chantel, and one day I hope, for you. I love you, Mom. I've always loved you. I just never learned how to show it without asking for something in return." I read Marcus's letter 3 times. I cried. Not from sadness, but from hope. Maybe he really was changing. Maybe walking away had been the best thing I could have done, not only for myself, but for him too. I took a photo of the letter and sent it to Doreen. She replied immediately, "Real progress, but don't lower your boundaries." She was right. Real change takes time. 3 months later, 3 months after moving, I hosted a small gathering at my home, my new home. My walking group came, Doreen drove in from the city, and a few women from yoga joined us. We cooked together, shared stories, drank wine, and laughed as the ocean breeze drifted in from the deck. Every woman there had a similar story, women who gave and gave until there was nothing left, women who had finally dared to choose themselves. "To those who were brave enough to say enough," Cecilia said, raising her glass, "to peace over guilt." We toasted, clinking glasses, laughter, the sound of waves in the background. That night, after everyone left, I sat on the deck with a warm cup of tea. I opened the notes app on my phone and wrote, "Today marks 3 months since I moved. 3 months since the hardest and most necessary decision of my life. 3 months since I stopped living for everyone else and started living for myself. And here's what I realized. I am not selfish for loving myself. I am not a bad mother for setting boundaries. I am not cruel for protecting my peace. I am human. I am a woman who deserves dignity, respect, and tranquility. And after 69 years, I finally understood that. I put my phone down and looked at the moonlit ocean. Marcus now called me once a week. Short conversations, no requests, just small steps toward respect. Chantel sent me flowers for my birthday with a simple card. "Happy birthday, Celestine. Hope you're well." A small gesture, but an important one. Naomi visited once a month. We grew closer than ever, And I, Celeste Stein Vance, woke each day to the sound of the ocean, walked with my new friends, and continued building a life that finally belonged to me. A new life. One morning, I walked barefoot on the sand as the sky slowly lightened. I thought of everything I had left behind, and everything I had gained. I left behind a house full of history but empty of respect. I left behind the version of myself who lived only to serve others. I left behind guilt that never belonged to me in the first place, and in return I gained peace, I gained dignity, I gained time, I gained true friends, I gained a life that was fully, beautifully mine. The sun rose over the horizon, painting the sky with impossible colors. A wave washed over my feet. I smiled. For so many years I had asked, what do they need? What do they want? How can I help them? But now, at last, I asked myself, what do I need? What do I want? How can I help myself? And the answers were simple. I need peace. I want freedom. And I can help myself by choosing me. I took out my phone and snapped a selfie. Messy, wind-blown hair, no makeup, wrinkles telling the story of a full life, but eyes shining brighter than they had in decades. I sent it to Naomi with the text, "Good morning from paradise." She replied instantly with hearts, "I love you, Grandma. You're my inspiration." I put my phone away and kept walking, because that's exactly what my life was now. Walking forward toward the peace I had searched for my whole life. After decades of being a mother, a wife, a caregiver, a problem solver, after decades of being everything for everyone except myself, I was finally choosing whom to care for, and I chose me. YouTube outro. Rewritten, optimized, safe. Did you enjoy this story, and from which city are you listening today? Let's meet in the comments. I love reading your messages. If you liked the story, you can support the channel by sending a super thanks. It helps me bring more life stories your way. Thank you so much for your kindness and support. On the screen, you'll find 2 more stories I highly recommend. There are many more waiting for you on the channel. Don't forget to subscribe for more beautiful life stories. See you in the next one, with love and respect.